and welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Miranda, and today this will be the video for my wrap-up of 2020 and my January TBR. I did not record anything last month. I was supposed to do a video with the cats picking my books. We filmed that. I hated how it came out. There was just a little bit of technical difficulties getting the setup going on and getting the cats involved without them being absolutely chaotic and knocking everything over. So that might be another video to revisit later this year, or this coming year, to redo that, work out the little kinks in the program. And just overall, December was not a great month. I kind of slumped there for a little bit, a lot of it, and totally went off the plans of what I had chosen as my TBR thanks to the video I tried to film. Didn't do my Piece and Pages unboxing for the month. Just, you know, a lot of stress with the holidays coming up, just the way this year has been. It was just a lot. So December I decided to not do anything. So now I'm coming back at the beginning of the year and hoping to come in much stronger. With that being said, I did manage to read 6 books this month, which I consider to be pretty good. Really good, actually, considering how the month went and how I really wasn't feeling like reading for a while. I know a couple of them were just in the past couple of days, which is when things have finally managed to settle down and I've had more free time, but it still counts because today is the 31st, so it's still December. The first book that I read is Tarnished Are the Stars. This one is a fantasy set on a different planet after some catastrophe has basically made Earth inhospitable to humans, and a girl and the son of a settlement leader have to essentially go on a mission to figure out why people are being born on the planet with a heart condition that seems to be environmentally caused. There was some asexual and aromantic representation in the book, which I personally loved. I don't see too much of. And there was a female-female relationship, which was also great. I thought the book was pretty well done. It was nice, quick pace. It was a standalone as well, which is really nice because you don't get too many standalones, I feel, anymore, especially in young adult and fantasy. They tend to be series, so it was really nice to have a standalone. I personally thought it was really good. I believe this is the author's debut, but I'll correct myself if I'm wrong. I also think I gave that one 4 stars. Pretty good. And it was a really quick, easy read, pretty captivating. I wish there had been a little bit more world building, but just with everything going on in the book, there wasn't that much time, but there was still enough for you to get the concept of where things were and why things were going on. The second book that I read, or finished, was The Starlet Steep by Erin Morgenstern. I've been reading this one since probably October. It is a very slow-paced book, but it is very beautifully written, which is why I kept reading. I did get frustrated because it felt like there was just a lot of pieces, and they didn't all really fit together, and that kind of, you know, just left me frustrated. I wanted to know kind of exactly what was going on. And it's pretty much a lot of things are hinted at but never really explained. But Erin Morgenstern does create a very beautiful world. Focuses on, I'm sure everyone's heard by now, an underground library that has access to like so many different stories, and people are trying to make it so others can't go there anymore, but Zachary Ezra Rollins does end up there and goes off on an adventure from there. It is actually following a gay main character, which is cool. The romance in there I thought was really sweet. There was actually a couple different romances in there, but the main one was between 2 men. And it was just a beautiful world overall, but if you don't like slow-paced things, you might not like this. Again, it was incredibly, like, it wasn't until the last 100 pages or so that things really kind of started to pick up. And even then, they didn't really pick up too much. So kind of pros and cons to that one. I did give it 3.5 stars, mostly just because I was frustrated and I felt like there wasn't really much of a resolution. But again, it was beautifully written, beautifully crafted, just a great, beautiful story. The third book that I read this month was Winterwood. This one is a young adult fantasy fiction following a group of women, the Walker women or family, who are essentially witches, and they've lived in this one place by this wood for generations. A boy goes missing, and Nora Walker, the current generation, finds him in this wood where essentially lost things just show up. It's kind of a magical or enchanted wood. But it's also, the woods are almost alive. I thought it was an okay book. I give it 3 stars. I felt like not too much actually happened between finding him and the resolution of the story. Very quick-paced, but in a way where there wasn't much happening. There was a lot of dialogue, and there was a lot of inter-monologue, a lot of reflection, a lot of thought, but it felt very repetitive. The romance, again, was also one of those, like, super quick, instant infatuations, which, to be fair, Tarnished Are the Stars also had, and so did the Starless Sea, but I felt they were handled better in those books and had more depth to them in the end than this one had. But it was still an entertaining read, 3 stars for sure. Wasn't awful, but, you know, just kind of like your average YA book. Quick read as well. I think I read it in about a day or so. The 4th book I read this month, and probably the most highly rated, actually definitely the most highly rated that I read this month, is The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue by V.E. Schwab. I rated this 5 stars because it was just beautiful. I don't normally read books like this. It felt definitely a lot more contemporary, but with a fantasy element to it, even though that wasn't necessarily explored. And I've seen a lot of people describe it as a love story between a girl and the devil, or a girl and like a dark god. But I'd have to disagree with that. A little bit of spoiler warning, Addie very much does not love the devil guy, or Luce as she calls him. And the ending just was incredibly sad, but also that very like last page or two, you could just tell it wasn't exactly a love story. It was almost a revenge story in a way, even though that revenge never is really doesn't really come to fruition in the end. But it was definitely very beautiful. The romance in there was great. I believe Addie is either bisexual or pansexual. It does mention relationships with both men and women. But the main kind of romance is between her and a man, and then her and the devil, who shows himself to her as a man. Yeah, it was very beautifully written. This was my first dive into any of V.E. Schwab's writing, and I definitely really enjoyed it, so I am going to be reading more about her. I have already picked up another one of her books, and I look forward to adding it somewhere on this year's reading list. The 5th and 6th books that I read this month go together because they are part of a series. That is City of Bones and City of Ashes, both by Cassandra Clare. I originally read both of these books and a couple more into the series several years ago. I think it was around 2013 or 2014. The entire series wasn't published then, so I only read up to where it had been published and then stopped, which is part of why I'm picking it up now. One, I just kind of wanted to revisit it and see how my thoughts were, if it changed at all, and they definitely have. And then I wanted to finally finish this series. So this I rated 3.5 stars because I have a lot of feelings about it. You can definitely tell that it's very much based like a Ginny and Draco fanfiction that was just turned into a novel. I know there's a lot of criticism on her for this series. And in general for the almost like plagiarism and fanfiction aspect of it. I'm not going to get into that. There's probably enough said all over everywhere about that. But I will say I really could do without that fake incestuous relationship. But even if it's fake, I don't care, could do without it. And the fact that it spans multiple books is gross. That's the only way I can say. It's gross. I don't like it. I do like the world that Cassandra Clare has created. I like the idea of there being vampires and werewolves and mermaids and fairies and all of that stuff. And then being some sort of human-demon hybrids or human-angel hybrids. I really do like the concept that she has, which is part of why I'm revisiting this. But yeah, there's just obviously some critiques to be made about it, especially with Clary and her characterization. The very obvious girl hate between Clary and Isabel for pretty much no reason other than, oh, here's this girl being friendly and romantic towards my best friend, and I don't like that, even though I just told him he should get a girlfriend. I could do without that too. However, it is entertaining. It's a quick read. I mean, even though it's like, I think this one's 500 pages, it's a YA, it's a quick read. I know it's just entertaining. I do like the concept, the whole demon hunter or magical downworld enforcers is really cool, and I like the concepts that she brings into the story. But again, there's always critiques to be said for it. So that can go for both City of Bones and City of Ashes. Both of them were about 3.5 stars. Pretty sure once we get past that fake incestuous relationship, the stars might go up a little bit more. But until that goes away, that's where it's going to stay. So now for what I plan to read this month. January, hopefully I will have more free time, as it is a pretty slow time in the plant nursery business. Winter is just in general a very slow time, and it won't pick up again until probably March. I do hope to get a little bit more reading done these next couple of months than I plan to in March, April, and May. So yeah, with that, let's, I guess, just get started on that list. First up is, of course, continuing the Shadowhunter series with City of Glass. I did start this morning, so I do hope to get it done in the next couple of days. And then I do hope to just go through the rest of the series. So of course, that includes City of Heavenly Fire, City of Lost Souls, City of Fallen Angels, and I just realized those were out of order, but who cares? It's all the same series. We know what I'm talking about. I do plan to finish that and actually finally finish the series, because I never did. And just see how it wraps up, because the show got canceled before it ever got there. One inhaler break later, we're back. Next on my list to read for January is going to be the Book of the Ancestor trilogy by Mark Lawrence. That includes Red Sister, which I've started already and am very much liking, Grey Sister, and Holy Sister. So this series follows Nona. At the beginning of the series, she's a child who was essentially sold to a person who buys kids to sell them to fighting rings and things like that, which seems to be a pretty big thing in this universe. Each person has like remnants of blood of like 4 certain tribes that were, I believe, like the ancestors or the original people of the lands. And they have different aspects or qualities to them based on what type of blood they have. So either quickness, great, like gigantic height and strength, or some sort of magical ability, depending on what their bloodline is. It doesn't say exactly what Nona is at first. I'm assuming it'll probably get to that later. But she ends up being sold to a fighting ring at a young age, around 9 years old. And from there, ends up almost murdering a man who was hurting a friend of hers. Gets really dark, well, not necessarily dark, but really intense pretty quickly. She is saved from being hanged for murder by a nun who takes her to the convent. I think it's the Sisters of Mercy Sisters. I should know this. I've read the words like 1,000 times already in this book. So anyways, they take her to a convent where she trains to be a nun, and the nuns are actually badass. They are trained in like fighting and poison and deception and all these things to basically be like assassin nuns. That's really all the bookseller had to tell me at Barnes & Noble, and I was picking it up off the shelf. So I do plan to read this whole trilogy. Is my first taste of anything Mark Lawrence has written, but I've heard pretty good things about it just from looking at reviews later of this trilogy and some of his other works, so I'm very excited to see how it goes and to see how much of a badass nun Nona becomes. The last book on my official TBR is Heartless by Marissa Meyer. She is the author of the Lunar Chronicles and the Renegades trilogy. I did really like both of those. Again, pretty fun, entertaining. She has really good world building in my opinion, or the worlds are very easy to imagine. So I'm excited to read this. It almost sounds like a Wonderland retelling in a way. This girl wants to be a baker, but she has the potential to essentially be married to a prince. Her mom doesn't like that she wants to be a baker, and essentially the girl goes off on her own to choose her own destiny. So I would like to read this. I do like Marissa Meyer's writing, and it would be nice to have a standalone to break up the 2 series that I'm reading. Finally, if I somehow have time for it this month, and we'll see how the month goes, I would like to read or start reading Priory of the Orange Tree. I am also going to be adding this to February's to be read if I, for some reason, can't get to it this month. This was described to me as lesbian dragon riders, and that's really all I needed to know. That's still all I really know. but I'm excited to add this to the list. It is a heckin' chunker at, I believe, 800 pages. Yeah, over 800 pages. I've heard really good things about Samantha Shannon's writing. She's the author of the Bone Season series, which I've also been wanting to try. And honestly, just the cover really gets me. And you're not supposed to judge a book by its cover, but the cover just for some reason really gets me. It just draws me in. Essentially, the premise of the book is a queen is trying to protect her reign from assassins, and she needs to have a daughter. She becomes close with a lady-in-waiting who's been secretly protecting her with magic, and things go from there as it seems like maybe war is about to break out. So yeah, I am excited to break into this. Hopefully I can get to it this month and start it, if not February. Okay, well, if you watched this far, thank you so much for watching. That is the end of my video for this week. I do plan to do a couple more videos this month than I would normally do. I would like to do my best and worst of 2020 since I didn't get to that last month. Of course, I'm going to be doing the Piece and Pages unboxing when that arrives. And then I also plan to do probably a shorter video on series that I'd like to read in 2021. And maybe possibly also add in books that are coming out in 2021 that I'm excited for, even though there's only like 3 so far. So yeah, I hope that you guys liked the video. I know I'm still getting my shit together, but thank you so much for watching. If you feel like it, go ahead and subscribe, drop a comment, leave a like, let me know what your favorite book off this list was, or if you have anything to recommend me, we can chat, we can be friends. Yeah, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!